my life, knowing that when I get to the gates of heaven, whatever that is, whatever that whole thing is about, when I'm ready to cross from this life into the next, I want to know that I loved to the very best of my ability.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I hope they don't ask me that. I hope they just ask me, did you have fun? Did you enjoy yourself? Yep. It was great. Yeah, because I've had adventure, I've had trauma, I've had, you name it, every word in the dictionary.
But how did you overcome all that?
Some you don't overcome, you just accept it. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, being handicapped.
Yeah.
Okay. Growing up, looking in the mirror one day, saying to myself, okay, you're never gonna get a girlfriend. You're never gonna get to run around the beaches with the beautiful people. You're never gonna get, and there was a whole bunch of nevers going to. And then realization hit me, and my inner voice said, so what? You're not handicapped. You're not a cripple. You're not disabled. This is what it means to be you. You're different. So I said, okay, I'm different. Go out here onto the world. And I did. Don't regret nothing. People ask me about being apologetic about stuff. No. Everything I did, I decided to do at that time. Might have been bad information that made me think that, okay, or made me make that decision, but I made it willfully. I didn't do impulsive stuff. I meant to do everything I did, good, bad, or indifferent. And the stuff that I look back on that I know I did wrong, I try to atone myself by doing positive deeds, you know. And my kids, I took them with me when we were younger. We would go to the shelters and St. Mary's and places like that, and I would serve food. I would wind up doing the dishes a lot, mopping up, cleaning up. I always got the dirty job, but so what?
And that's love to me.
I thought so.
And I think that's love, and I think when I said overcome and you said I didn't overcome, I accepted, that's love because you're accepting yourself.
I learned to love me.
Yeah, that's love.
And once I did that, I found I attracted, a gal showed up on my radar. And she kept showing up. Before I know it, she was saying, well, why don't we get married? Okay, so.
So you didn't have to propose?
No. I had something to offer, and I was offering it. I have generosity. I learned that as a kid. I have kindness.
Yeah,
I have a sense of exploring, and she loved that. I'd say, let's go canoeing. You know, inner city kids don't go canoeing. Yeah, let's go. So what? We went canoeing. I said, let's go horseback riding. But before I knew it, my zeal for exploring life caught on, and she just loved it. She got swept up in this, and it was experiences for her, and it was growth, obviously. And she saw it was more to just going out to the club and dancing, you know, and getting drunk.
Right.
Okay, there's stuff to do out here, you know, and let's go check it out. Because I never expected to live past my 20s. And it happened. And I had kids, and there's, oh shit, now I gotta feed them. Okay. Yeah. Okay, now they gotta buy a home, bought a home, you know. So okay, they gotta have more. We got a swimming pool. You know, you just keep going. And then as they grew up and grew out, we looked around one day, and we had to learn how to be a couple again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the stuff we used to do, we didn't because of working
Right.
and raising them.
Right.
And then we start saying, okay, well, let's go do this. Let's go to the show. Let's just hang out for a while. You know, and that was cool. That was the coolest part of my relationship, my marriage, was those last, I guess, 10 years, because she had cancer and she passed. That was the coolest part because we were mature, you know. And I gave an example about another day at the center about the argument we used to have.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and how I chose to deal with my part of the argument.
Right.
Well, the ending was, she said, well, why'd you do that? I said, because I don't want to argue with you. You know, we're too cool for that. I just, you know, it gave both of us a win. I said, we are too cool for that. So we both win in this. There's no losers. Let's go do something. And we went out and we just, I think we went bowling. Okay. But it broke the tension, got rid of her stress, left me without being battered and beat up, because I know I do stuff wrong. We all do.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I know I make bad decisions from time to time, so
Right.
what?
We say
You know.
things we didn't necessarily mean to say, do
Yes.
things we didn't mean to do.
Yes, and I don't apologize for nothing. I'm me. I'm sorry that it doesn't work out for everybody the same way, but it is what it is. You know, I can accept it. I can accept you for you. It's got to be two ways. You know?
Right. Well, that's what makes us all get along, is when we can practice acceptance of ourselves
Yes.
and acceptance of each other.
That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm.
And knowledge is also a hard part too. We don't always want to accept what's in front of us. We have it's been my experience that people have an idea in their head and they will just ignore reality for their concept of it.
Right.
I'm sure you've seen that with people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, doesn't matter about how much is there in reality. It's what this is what I think. You know, so and you can't reach people like that.
No.
That's what I was trying to say earlier about rehabbing people.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't rehab them, then what?
Yeah, right. I think that's the big issue that we have is what do you do with people that are really against society, you know, in a sense, because they're not willing to see the value of being kind and well, I think it's more being able to own what's going on inside of them, their own shadow. So what happens is they project their shadow out and believing all that awfulness and ugliness is coming from the other person, because they can't accept that it's coming from within. It's this darkness within them that they haven't been able to look at, because it's that sociopathy and that narcissism is such a strong defense mechanism against pain, that ever since, you know, Ted Bundy or anybody else was this little boy, there was this pain that he never had the tools to handle, so he developed these really rigid defenses that caused him to not be able to see himself, to see his own shadow. And we all have blind spots to our own shadow. It's just that these sociopathic type of criminals have really big blind spots. They're huge blind spots. They just cannot see that darkness as coming from within. So they have to attack the people that show up on the outside. And so they're constantly attacking. They're like a virus on the back of humanity, a parasite, you know, always sucking the life out of and attacking others. And, it's not helpful in our society to have people like that,
True.
that don't have a conscience, that don't care if they steal or murder or hurt.
That's why I said there's a remedy for that. They still practice that in a lot of different countries. I had the opportunity to go to Saudi, and I went to this one of those cities, Dahran, and they had 3 people hanging in the plaza.
Oh, really? Wow.
They had hung there for 4 or 5 days.
Wow. And you just walk around, eating your chili dog, and people are hanging?
Chili dog there. Okay. Because I was there in the early to mid 80s, so it was a little different then. It was a little more strict. I remember the people that I was visiting was Aramco Oil Company, and they had their own facility. It was like a military base. Stores, you got it, theaters, everything, homes. And when we would go into the city, one of the gals asked me when I walked behind her. And then as we was going through the crowd, I saw guys trying to grope her. So I figured I blocked stuff then. She didn't have the strength to tell me that she needed protection, but she had the wherewithal to say, "Would you please walk behind me?" And hoping, I guess, that I would pick up on it, and I did. So, I protected her best I could. So.
Yeah, I think we in this country can be really blind to what's happening in other places still. I mean,
yeah.
Like you talk about that hanging was the normal thing in the plaza, and they just leave them hanging. I mentioned the food part kind of jokingly because I was doing some research into the Inquisition when so many women were being hung and burned as witches.
Right.
And these weren't witches; they were women that practiced healing arts and herbal medicine.
Right.
And
we know that now.
or the guy that's tired of his wife and wants to go find a new one, so he just accuses her of being a witch. Whatever he needs to do to get rid of her, it's okay.
Right.
So, but
we still do that.
Yeah.
As a culture, we buy a boat and we push it overboard.
Yeah.
Remember the guy? Natalie Woods. Okay.
That's still happening.
Yeah.
That's still happening. But in those days when they would have a burning or a hanging or something, that it would be a festival, and there would be food and there would be activities, while they would make it a day event to burn someone.
It's crazy.
Isn't it crazy? And I couldn't get in my mind. I mean, that's just kind of the joke I make about the chili dog. So they're eating a chili dog while somebody's burning, you know? Right. They burn the pig and then they burn the person. Right. And, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around how people can eat and watch something like that.
Yeah. It becomes part of your life. Then it's not odd anymore.
Well, and if you didn't show up for the community hanging or the community burning, you were suspect.
Okay.
And you not only had to show up, but you had to show enthusiasm. So when you see the movies where everybody's like, hang up, it's like if you weren't showing enthusiasm, you were suspect.
Right. It's crazy. But that's the society.
Yeah.
And we know it's corrupt. But it's hard to change it. It's hard to change minds. It's hard to get people to join in with your fight. Because we all have our own little circle we run in, and our own little needs, and it's hard to extend out to help someone else. You know that. You deal with them.
Yeah.
Because they can't even come out of their circle to get help sometimes.
Right.
So.
Yeah. A lot of women are trapped because they were with men who decided for them that they were going to be stay-at-home mothers, and that they were going to get a budget for groceries, and for the children's clothing, they would get maybe some money deposited for that or whatever. But the man maintained control of the funds, and she never developed skills and has these children that she's responsible for. She knows if she leaves this man, not only will she not have a penny, but he will use all his resources to take the children away from her. And this situation is quite common. So she's really trapped in a situation where
You're telling me women feel ownership to kids, their kids. I never felt that.
they love their kids.
I love my kids to death. I would kill for my kids.
Yeah,
And I would kill to protect them.
that's just it. That's what I'm saying.
But
I'm not saying
I
they
don't
feel
hold
owned,
them.
but I'm
If
not.
she wanted to take them, hey, take them fools, you know.
She knows the kids would be abused.
Well, I'm not going to abuse
So we're
them.
we're not talking about you.
That's the only thing I can talk about. I can't speak for the world. Just me.
I'm just saying that these men that are abusive are also abusive to the kids. So if she were to leave the kids, it would be go against Mother Bear. We are Mother Bears to our children.
Okay.
Mothers they have an instinct
Okay.
to protect their children. And so if they know they're leaving their kids in the hands of somebody that's going to brutalize them and terrorize them, they will stay there and take the hit.
Right.
But it's not it's a disempowering for everybody. It's not an empowering situation to be in.
Right.
And they just, and we can't take the kids and leave the country, as women when we're in these situations, because then we're guilty of kidnapping.
Right. Right.
It's so there are so many situations that are so disempowering yet, that for a country that's supposed to be becoming enlightened or
It never was. It was all a lie. And it still is, and we're still living it. And we got proof of that. Who's in the White House?
right? Oh
We
yeah,
got proof
yeah.
of that.
That's proof of the narcissism of our society.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but only thing that could change is me.
Right.
And I keep saying to people, if you want a better world, be a better you.
Be a better you.
Because all we have control of is ourselves.
Exactly. And our own experience on the most part, for our own experience. Sometimes people find themselves in these disempowering situations. In my own life, I found ways to get out of disempowering situations.
Mm-hmm.
And now I always choose what's going to be the most empowering. And
Mm-hmm.
I actually teach people to be selfish
And they should be for certain things.
for certain things.
Yeah.
And being selfish is not narcissistic. It's the brand of selfishness that I teach, self-love.
Mm-hmm.
It's self-care. It's making yourself as important.
Right.
As important.
And like you mentioned, the mother bear thing.
Yeah.
I love my kids like that too. If I thought she didn't, I would have a problem. We would have to leave, and I would take them,
Mm-hmm.
or I'd ask her to leave, But, if the other person, I don't know, I shouldn't be saying that because it's me being judgmental. But you would think, why would you stay in a relationship once you saw that?
Fear.
Once you saw that.
Yeah, fear
why
is
would
the
you
only
keep
reason,
doing
and that fear is large. It's great.
Okay.
And it causes a huge blind spot.
Okay.
Yeah. And some of it is very valid because of our society and its ability to support situations like this,
Mm-hmm.
like women that are in situations with an abusive mate, and it could be the other way too, a man in a situation with an abusive mate. But it's not that common that men are going to be stay-at-home moms or dads. Sometimes that's true, but they will have the resources to get 50% custody or whatever they need to do to make sure the kids are taken care of. So I mean, we do have some limitations in our judicial system that the judicial system is on the most part a narcissistic system.
Okay.
It is appearance based and fact based and evidence based, and facts and evidence can be distorted and appearances are definitely distorted.
Yes. Yes. Because we're having more people let out now because of DNA evidence. You know, it's ridiculous. And look at weed is legal. What about all the people that are in prison?
Right.
How do you justify this? You kept them away from society. Now they got to be re-educated to be brought back in to be meaningful. And if
Just get
you
them a
don't
job
do
in the
that-
dispensaries.
if they don't do that, then they're a problem on society.
You're
They
right.
can't.
You're
So-
right, because you learn a certain set of skills in prison. You do have the opportunity, though. I did hear a story about one man that went to prison that got his, I think he got his doctorate.
Yeah.
He had no education when he went in,
Right.
and he comes out of prison with a doctorate. It's like, that's making good use of your time.
Right.
You
But
know?
that's so rare.
It's rare because it would be hard to study under those conditions.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know.
That has got to be rare. Because I know they have a lot of cutbacks too now. And they are just trying to fill beds now because it's a profit industry now.
Yes.
It's not
That's wrong.
state run, it's, so it's changed. Our military has changed. It used to be a volunteer thing. Now, well, it used to be a draft thing. Excuse
Right.
me. I got that backwards.
Yeah.
I misspoke.
Yeah.
And now it's volunteer, so people who are going in want to do destructive stuff.
Or they want their college paid, or they need to get out of their homes.
There's ways to get your college paid. There's ways to get out your home.
And when you're a young man or woman nowadays that are being, influenced by this, travel the world, be all that you can be. There is hypnosis involved in seducing people into the military.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so people don't really realize what they're signing up for, a lot of them. It's
True.
like, you come here, you serve your term, you get your college paid for, you get, we give you instantly room, board, food, all that stuff. And somebody that's coming from a disempowering family life that's just turning 18, it's like, yeah, get me out of here.
Right.
And sure, they could make other choices, but sometimes it looks like an easy choice and it's very hypnotizing.
Right. We see it all of the time, and we say ISIS.
Yeah.
We say, why would they strap a bomb on themselves and do that?
Right.
To get out of their situation, to get money to feed their families. They got reasons too, just as valid as ours, and that's insane, but that's life.
It is.
And I was just thinking the police department. Those people join the police department got problems. They join because they want authority. They want the ability to do what they do, and they are inflicting harm on society.
Now, my son joined the police department,
Okay.
and I do not believe that he joined because he wanted power.
Why do
Because
you
I
think
know
he did?
his spirit.
Why do you think he joined?
I think for several reasons. He found himself with children at an early age that he needed to support, and he was going towards the best route to make a living with the skills that he had at the time. He was working for a plant, and then this opportunity came to work as a corrections officer for the county, which paid a lot of benefits. It paid a good salary if he was there for 2 years.
For the kids. Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, and then if he stayed there for 2 years, they would pay for him to go through police academy, and then he would get a promotion and more money and more, And
Okay.
so sometimes it just is a career choice that has to do with getting the funds and the benefits, and to believe, there's also belief that you're helping people. In
Okay.
fact, at his graduation, they talked about being peace officers, that we're training people to be peace officers.
Mhm.
And when I look at these young people that were standing on that stage, I could see that there were a few, that I kind of energetically read were into the power thing.
Right.
They had the strut,
Right.
But on the most part, I think they were good men and women that wanted to make a difference, that believed that they were peace officers. So, yes, that does show up, but it's not always the case.
Well, when you live in negativism and all you see is the crimes of society, I'm positive that that has to affect you. And then once it does, it affects your judgment on how you deal with everybody else.
Yeah.
And if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Because that's the only thing you can do is hit it.
Yeah.
They,
Well, there's corruption in every field. There's corruption, obviously, in the pharmaceutical. There's corruption in the medical. There's corruption in big corporation. There's corruption in small corporation. There's corruption everywhere. But the thing that's across the board is there's also good people everywhere.
Right.
That are there in those fields that we are calling corrupt.
Right.
For the right reasons. Because they want to make a difference, because they want to help.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's just that we don't hear about the good ones. We only hear about the negative events.
Of course. We've got negative-based news. We've got fear-based news that keep, there's this idea that we keep under control as a people by being kept in fear. And what's going to keep us in fear is to keep feeding us bad news.
It's not just fear, it's fear for financial reasons. They're selling alarms for the homes, alarms for the cars, bars for the windows, bulletproof vests, selling guns like crazy.
Right.
It's a enterprise.
So we are a fear-based society.
Yes. That's what's keeping the dollars going. Mm-hmm. That's what's keeping the machine. That's the oil that keeps us rolling.
Right.
And we have spent the most money of every country in the world on our military.
That's
to
right.
make newer weapons,
right.
Stronger weapons,
Yep. Our funds are mostly going to how can we destroy.
Yes.
Instead of, so that question at the pearly gates isn't how well did you fear, it's how well did you love, which is kind of that opposite.
Right.
That opposite, in the Course of Miracles, that's the opposite of love is fear.
Right.
Right. And it is fear that runs the world.
True.
And if, that's where Marianne Williamson, who is running for president, are you familiar with her?
No.
She's a great spiritual leader. She's written many books, okay. And she was a Course in Miracles student, and I'm not a Course in Miracles student, but I've grabbed a few of the things that have been said in there and can resonate with a few things.
What party is she running with?
She's Democratic. And
well, it's about 12 of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How
she's
you
one of many.
All that?
She's one of many, but I do follow what she's saying, and I'm not saying that somebody like Marianne's going to be able to go against the system we have, but she is making a difference just by getting her voice out there.
Sometimes that's enough.
That's enough, and she's talking about about love and not all this fear and craziness. She says it's going to take a whole lot more than what most people are aware of to bring down Trump. You know,
Right.
that it's going to take a movement like we can't believe. You know, it's going to take a huge movement in the right direction, which is in the direction of love, not in the direction of fear and hatred and fighting each other because we have different beliefs.
Right.
Like the Democrats and Republicans at Trump election, everybody's up in arms and everybody's going crazy and fighting each other and
Right.
attacking each other.
Right.
It's like, that's not going to bring us the world that we want.
Right.
And so, you know, what I really loved about her is she was being interviewed by this man, and he said, "So why should we vote for you?" And she's saying, "I'm not saying that you should vote for me. I'm saying you should follow your heart, to become educated, to see what each person is having to say, what each person says, and then listen to your heart and vote with your heart. But vote." And that's what she said. And it's like, good answer.
Yeah. One calm voice in a sea of nutcases.
Exactly. Exactly. Because she wasn't on her pedestal saying,
Right.
I'm great, I'm this, I'm better than, I'm going to do a better job than.
Right.
She's saying, I want to change how we do things.
Right.
Not in the way that most politicians talk about change, but on changing us, each one of us on the inside,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can change what's going on the outside. That outside is just an outpicturing
Mm-hmm.
of what's going on the inside. So when we have a Trump for president, it's just showing us the chaos and the narcissism that's going on the inside
Right.
of the people at large,
Right.
the society.
And the truth is, he lost the election.
Some will say.
All would say that. The numbers went with Hillary. She won, but they took it anyway. Just like they did when Bush got in office.
I remember that.
Yeah, he lost too, but they took it anyway. How do you fight a system like that? You know,
Well,
and
you
the
don't
best
fight it.
way to do that is locally. Get the people that you need that are gonna stand up for you and what's important in your community in these positions. Like you're saying right now, talk to the sheriff, talk to the police chief, talk to the governor, everybody who will listen. This guy can't be walking away from this. If we change it there and all of these little spots grow, then we can change the big spot. But we can't change the big spot. Got to do the little ones.
You're right. I agree with that.
And that's where we fail to get up to, you know, people get comfortable in their homes and relax and have a little wine